Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. And if you like these watches, especially this one, see it in detail and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we're discussing a 2018 release from de Bethune. The steel wheels may have stolen the headlines at SIHH, but this might be the most appealing watch to bow from de Bethune under its new management and new financiers. The timepiece is the DB28 Zirconium. So a timepiece with a zirconium surfaced 43mm case. It wears feather light on the wrist. And I have to say that the watch is difficult to describe because it's a bit of a chimera in how you measure it. 43mm across the round of the case. If you actually include the outrigger pivots of the floating lugs, it becomes a far more substantial 48.7mm from 9 to 3. It's not a thick watch though, we can agree on that. 11.7mm thick, it will slide easily underneath any cuff. And again, difficulty measuring the lug-to-lug span because the floating spring-loaded lugs, and you can order long or short lugs when it goes back to de Bethune for service, they pivot and they change the geometry across the wrist, so it can be a maximum of 58.2mm across the wrist if you have a big wrist, or as short as 53.1. So this watch is designed to fit your wrist in the most literal sense possible. It actually morphs to suit your wrist. A very broad and thin matte finish, large rectangular scale, black alligator leather strap. You can see it's completely unbolstered, but it is wide. The spacing for this one, if you were to seek an aftermarket replacement or an OEM replacement, is 26mm, and you can see a very subtle black and blue contrast about the stitch and the color of the leather. Folded side, small scale alligator leather on the bottom, so gator on both sides, boding well for the longevity of the strap. Gator wears well. Typically calfskin is used because it's cheaper on the underside. No expense spared. De Bethune gives you a matching black zirconium buckle, and you'll note the buckle itself recapitulates the look of the floating lug, so this is not a default design, and there's even a recess for the pin buckle built in. The pin and the buckle designed to work together seamlessly with a low profile. I love the attention to detail on this watch, and you will note there are a lot of details. There's a double knurling pattern on the bullhead style crown. It is a screw down crown, 30 meters water resistant. That knurling is a pleasure to use and easy to grip. If you look on the flank, you can see there's a pusher adjuster for the moonphase hiding underneath the lug, and the finish of the case is all of a matte or a matte satin finish. So this one's designed to resist glare and have a bit of a muted case to contrast with the extravagant dial. Let's get as close as we can now, bring this one into focus, and give ourselves some more light because there's a lot to discuss. Okay, focus? Good. The dial of this watch is one and the same as the de Bethune manufacture 2115 movement. You can see the double barrels underneath their Delta-style barrel bridge. There is a black polished segment between the two barrels, and you can see it. It's that Starship Enterprise-style officer badge that has that wonderful reflective quality underneath. The double skeletonized and polished steel hands. The steel hands are finished the same specular mirrored finish that you'll see on that center section, as well as the continuously rounded balance bridge. You will note the watch features a combination of a grade 5 blued titanium track and inset white gold hour markers. So the indices themselves are white gold. The blue track outboard is blued titanium, the same blued titanium that comprises the wheel portion of the balance. Let me see if I can shake it and slow it down. This is why you want a high rate balance, so small oscillations can't slow your balance, but you can see the variable inertia bolts in white gold as I slow the balance and encumber it by shaking it. The nice thing, it's actually not fully wound, so it's not being as robustly as it normally can. The nice thing about the balance is that it has a maximum polar moment by locating those white gold bolts outboard of a skeletonized titanium balance. You'll also note that there is a combination blued steel and white palladium 1112 year moon phase, so called because that is the interval for adjustment. So once you've got this one set, provided you just keep it wound and keep wearing it, you won't need to adjust it for, a millennium or so. You'll note there's a double parachute system flanking Inca block. They call this triple parachute, but in truth, there are two parachute-style shock protection springs outboard built by de Bethune, so you have the stability that comes with a full balance bridge, but then you also have the shock resistance of not one, not two, but 3 shock protection springs, all supporting the balance staff itself. A remarkable amount of durability built in. You'll also note that there is a weird sort of off-center, irregularly shaped flat hairspring, and that's de Bethune's way of creating the same concentric beating center of gravity advantages that you get with an overcoil, but without the hooking and double up risks that an overcoil brings. So yes, de Bethune building their balance, also building their hairspring to their own design, and though you can't quite see it, there is a silicon escape wheel underneath a mini bridge just beneath the balance. So you have the advantage of that unlubricated component operating at high efficiency inside the mechanism itself. Railroad style minutes track outboard. You can see a very small dial side power reserve indicator just hiding between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. That little polished loop, that is a dial side power reserve mechanism. But if you want to go big or go home, you'll find that there is a big power reserve indicator on the case back. And you can see the entire mechanism with the sort of involute curved rack that drives that 6-day power reserve. 6 days or 144 hours. You'll note more blued titanium on the case back, as well as blackened bridges and plates with a huge swath of perlage and golden brushed finish mechanism at the center. Absolutely handsome, gorgeous even. It respects all of the standard traditional Swiss finishing norms. So you have the perlage, and if you look closely on the edge of the bridge, you'll see it glints and gleams because it has the same mirrored rounded anglage that you'll find on a Vacheron or a Patek. The same treatment is bestowed on the jewel and screw countersinks. So although this is certainly horological avant-garde, nevertheless, this is also a watch that respects tradition, right down to the linear Côte de Genève striations across the bridges and plates of the timepiece. Gorgeous, unique, possibly the most exciting independent in business today. De Bethune makes them and makes them rare. 150 watches per year, that's the max these days. And of this series of Zirconium DB28 moon phases, this one is number 3. Is lucky 3 your lucky number? Make it so on the Watchbox.